Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about junior tech leads. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, hi Frederick, how would you handle a situation where another software engineer who is much more junior than you in terms of title and experience is made to lead your team? Well, I would ask myself the question first and foremost, because I suspect that this is probably that this is sort of something that I read in between the lines of your question. For you, this seems to be a problem. For me, that's not really a problem, and let me explain why. So, if I feel that it was a problem, but we're going to talk about that a little bit, but I suspect that for most, it might come as a surprise where I would go as far as to say that I don't really view that as a problem because, as I've said before, guys, like being the tech lead, literally a junior software developer can do that depending on what that means. In some teams, being the tech lead literally means that the only thing you are responsible to do is to facilitate the meetings. In other words, send out a meeting invite and make sure that there's a morning stand-up or something like these sort of rituals that you might have in an agile work environment, for example. And that's all you're basically doing, apart from regular software development. And whenever there's a technical discussion or anything like that, the company doesn't just default to you per se. It's just that they need someone to be more or less in charge of these more administrative tasks. But in technical discussions, they will invite the most appropriate person for the job. So let's say if I were in the team, and let's just pretend that I was the senior here, well, my managers and my tech leads managers, like everybody's going to know that my input is necessary for this technical discussion, for example, if things are working correctly. Because even if you are the tech lead, if you can't come with the answers to the questions that your stakeholders have, you're going to find out very quickly that just as practically every product owner that you're ever going to work with, well, you're going to need to include the people that actually know the answers to your questions. Now, of course, it's ideal if the tech lead knows these sorts of things, just as it's ideal if the product owner knows everything about their product. But I can tell you from experience that that is far from the truth. There are more than a few systems where the product owner can't actually maneuver without having one of the seniors or practically the whole team present at in every conversation, right? So that is why I don't view it much as a problem. The only thing that I know, which can be a little bit tricky when you're dealing with junior profiles, is that it doesn't really matter if it's a junior tech lead or a junior anything, depending on, and this is just take it from me, I've worked in a few startups, guys, where I work with a 20-year-old something that is a product owner or is a VP of engineering or is a like a high up manager in a very small company, and they are junior in their role, but they're also junior in maturity as a person, which is a little bit dangerous sometimes, because when depending on who you're dealing with, they might be the best person ever for the job, and in some cases they might be extra sensitive to criticism, extra sensitive to A, B, and C, and they might not act with the same sort of maturity you could expect from someone who is in their 50s, for example. So there's a bit of a personality thing going on there. But on the whole, it's not a huge difference between having a junior whatever and a really, really senior experience, depending on your circumstances. I will go as far as to say, though, that me personally, even though I don't view this as a problem, it's actually, I think, more important to sort of consider that even if you are the most experienced person, because as I said, I think that you think that this is a negative thing, but the thing is, there are people every single day, guys, who are, and you probably know this if you really think about it, you are a software engineer, And odds are that you know quite a lot more about quite a lot of things, and you might be more qualified than other people to do quite a lot of things, but those people are still needed. So let's say that if you wanted to be the tech lead, well, then we're going to talk about like why this might be a problem for you, and then this is going to be a tough pill for some of you to swallow. But think about it yourself. Someone has to be the tech lead, and for me, I don't. If I'm getting paid what I care about and so like this is just another job to me. Unless I'm looking for a promotion or something like that, there's nothing to be gained from having me being the tech lead or like that. So I don't begrudge somebody else for getting the job, just as I don't get upset over the fact that someone runs the company who doesn't know the first thing about software development. Like I know more about IT than my CTO. I know for a fact that is true, but he or she is the CTO, and I can feel however I want about that, but someone has to have the job. And it's the same thing, when you go to like a restaurant or so forth, you might be the smartest person in line when they're serving up food, but is that relevant? These people are here to do a job. Someone needs to do it. And unless you are going to do it, then someone who can do it is more important than having the most qualified person. Like as I said, guys, like this idea that every single person who's doing a job somewhere is absolutely the best person for that job in all circumstances. It's just not true. It's the same thing here. A junior can be a tech lead, and he's going to probably handle that job just fine, because it's not important that you have the most senior person. You have to have someone who can fulfill the role. That's what's key. The negative thing that can happen here is what I suspect you should have to consider a little bit, because from your question I derive, or sort of I'm just guessing here now, you see this as a negative thing, because obviously if you are the more experienced person, why wouldn't you be the tech lead? So if I get hit with something like that, then there's usually a question of that, well, maybe you're not as good as you think that you are. And here's the key thing. When I say that, people think, well, I have more experience and I know write better tests and I know how to code better and etc. I will deliver faster. Yes, all of those things, probably. But being a tech lead has another aspect to it, and that is the social skills. And that is the most underestimated thing that I kept hearing from every single damn software developer who has ever complained about anything, where they continuously say, like, because they believe that they are like super good at what they do and so forth and so forth. And I say, yeah, you might be super good. In many cases, it's not the case they are as good as they think that they are, in my opinion. But the thing that they keep on missing is that your stakeholders find it hard to communicate with you. They don't feel that they can trust that you understand things and so forth, because whenever something is a mistake or something goes bad and so forth, you have a million excuses as to somebody else was unclear. There's always this mismatch between what they want and what you are producing. It's, as I like to say, guys, it doesn't matter how fast you are or how good you are at coding if you're building the wrong thing. And that aspect factors in, and you can feel however you want about that. I have so many engineers who bitch and moan over and over and over again, like about these sorts of things, and that like their stakeholders are confusing and stuff like that. Yes, I'm sorry to say that you're gonna have to work with people who will not be able to write you a perfect story card, but you are the expert. And in order for you to fulfill certain criteria, in other words, to get promoted, to get higher up in the company and so forth, you're gonna have to learn that soft skills matter. So if a junior level software developer, and if you feel that you should have had this job and you get passed over by a junior software developer, it is highly likely that either it is because you are too important. Basically, they feel like they can't move you to anywhere else because you have to do exactly the thing that you are doing right now, which in of itself can be a little bit dangerous. Or it is because you are not a good culture fit or social fit for that specific role. And if that is what's going on, I would recommend that you check that out a little bit. I have myself made sure that I sort of figured this out, because if that is what's going on, then the problem isn't that they got a job that you felt that you should have. The problem is that you haven't taken the time to actually learn the necessary tools, or like get the skill set that is necessary to progress your career further. So what I want you to take away from this is that I would personally not care at all if a junior got to be the tech lead in my team. Guys, I've worked in a few companies now where like my product manager, my boss, and so forth was like 10 years younger than me. It doesn't really matter to me. At the end of the day, for me, I don't see an age, or I don't see an experience level. I see a job that needs doing, and whether or not this person is able to fill that role. Everything else is secondary to me, because I'm a big advocate of merit-based. Like, whatever you do, it doesn't matter what it is. I don't care what your background is. I don't care how many titles you have, how old you are, any of this stuff. Either you prove that you can do it in some obvious way that I can tell that, yeah, you know what you're doing, or you can go. Like, that's my opinion at the very least. And I try to run the same thing. Like, when I have suggestions and stuff like that, guys, even though I might have the highest level in my current company, I have one of the highest levels as like in terms of within the company, and in theory I can basically say A, B, and C, and you do that, and then there's no discussion. I don't work that way. I want to show you my ideas, and I want you to evaluate if they make sense, because I don't want you to listen to me just because I said so and because I have a fancy title. I want you to look at my ideas, and I treat everybody the same way. That's why I don't see this as a problem. However, if you do see these things happening on, like, it's worthwhile for you to inquire a little bit. Usually it can be, as I said, like I've seen that many times before, some people unfortunately get passed over for promotions because they're simply too valuable for a specific situation, or they don't feel like the management wants to have someone who is less critical for something. So you might be so great for a certain job that you might lose out on a promotion here and there, and then you should take a discussion with your manager about that to fix that situation if you don't like it. But don't forget, guys, coding is important, but it's not the entire story when it comes to progressing up the ladder in a software company. Have a great day.